Hola, today we are going to be talking about Ethan Frome by Edith Wharton, who, coincidentally, was the first woman to win a Pulitzer Prize. Not for this, but for something else. So Edith Wharton, I was introduced to very late in my reading career. Actually, I think a little less than a year ago, in an American literature class that I was taking, and we had to read The House of Mirth, which is a fantastic book, by the way. That was before I started this channel, so I didn't review it. I will probably at some point go back and review it, but it's kind of hard to review stuff when you haven't read it in a long time. Sorry, that was my dog jumping. So anyway, back on track. My dog distracted me. I'm sorry. I apologize. Edith Wharton kind of reminds me, and this is disclaimer. This is not to disparage anyone who's a fan of Jane Austen, or, okay, forget what I was going to just say. I was going to say Edith Wharton strikes me as Jane Austen for grown-ups, which I think is like a snarky way of saying what I'm about to say. But Jane Austen's pretty sarcastic. I mean, she has a lot of wit and barb and sting, but I think it's more of like the American versus the British kind of approach to it. Edith Wharton's more blunt, I think, and a little bit more openly sassy and, like, hates marriage. Because Edith Wharton had, like, a failed marriage of her own and was very unhappy. But anyway, she seems like a really interesting character. I need to learn more about her. But yeah, her novels generally are set in New York of, like, the late 1800s. And usually revolve around the lives of, like, high society. Like, the House of Mirth is all these well-to-do families in New York society that are kind of like the Real Housewives, kind of. And I think her other real famous novel, The Age of Innocence, which I own, but have not read yet, it is very similar in that regard. However, Ethan Frome, which I believe was her second novel. I think so. Let me double check. Yeah, first major novel, The House of Mirth, started her success, and then Ethan Frome appeared 6 years later. Well, it doesn't say it's her second. I guess there could have been ones published in between. But anyway, it goes against her usual setting and focuses on a farmer in rural New England. What's a place called Starkfield. It was a really short little novella. This Barnes & Noble's Classic Edition is really thin, and that's not even that. All of that's not even the story. I think here it only is that much of this book is Ethan Frome. The rest of it are other short stories. So Edith Wharton tells us this super, super tragic story of Ethan Frome. I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, but just bear with me. Essentially, I don't want to get... He lives with his wife, he's unhappy. The wife's cousin, Maddie, comes to live with them, and Ethan falls in love with Maddie, and the story kind of picks up with this situation having gone on for a few months. I mean, it's framed by an outside narrator trying to figure out what's going on, so that's important. So the story starts with a newcomer to the town talking to other people. He sees Ethan, and he wants to know, like, what's up with that guy, because he's crippled, and he seems really old, and then people tell him he's not, and he's like, okay, well, what's the deal? And then eventually he, like, bums rides from Ethan, and then they end up having to talk because there's a blizzard, so he hears the whole story. And then it goes, and then you tell the story, and that's most of the book is hearing this story. And when he starts the story, Ethan has been hanging out with Maddie, and he's in love with her, but he's not sure how she feels, but he likes to think that she's in love with him. Anyway, his wife's kind of a hypochondriac and kind of bitchy and mean, and I think there's different interpretations of why she's like that, if that's just her character, or if really it was his neglect of her that made her like that. Anyway, there's a ton of symbolism in this book, and that's what a lot of people say is the reasoning behind it being read in high school so much. There's tons and tons of symbolism. It's pretty great. The climactic event people make fun of, and I don't want to spoil it for you. When I was reading it, it didn't bother me too much. But after thinking about it for a minute, it kind of did seem kind of silly. So I can see where people are coming from with that. As far as literature goes, it was just probably solid. I think high thoughts, not super high marks. I mean, it's not like any great human situation. I guess it is, but it isn't. I don't know. It's a hard one. Anyway, it probably gets a 3 out of 5. It's written very well. Edith Wharton's a good writer, excellent writer. There are parts that are funny. A lot of it is super, super depressing. Don't read it if you're not in a good mood. Don't read it if you're already sad. If you need an uplifting tale, don't read Ethan Frome. It's not going to help you at all. Sorry this one was so rambling, but it's so short that I feel like I can't say anything without giving away the plot. There's a lot of symbolism. If you haven't read any Edith Wharton, start here. Just for her kind of style of writing and the fact that it's shorter, especially if you don't generally read classics. And if you don't like the setting of this story and think it's boring, know that her other novels take place in New York City and have a lot of characters and intrigue. But that this is a good example of her ability to really pack in symbolism and all sorts of things and be really clever. And how sassy she is, not just in the way her characters speak to each other, but in her overall messages. The message in this is that love's pretty shitty. Which is why you shouldn't read it if you're already sad. Especially if you just broke up with somebody or someone just left you. Don't read Ethan Frome, it's a bad idea. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. And I'd recommend it if anyone who wants to start Edith Wharton, but doesn't necessarily want to commit to a 300-400 page novel. Start with that, read it if you like it, or some of her other short stories are really great, like Roman Fever, I believe is by her. If you just want to jump into the novel, go for House of Mirth. I loved it. I can't speak for The Age of Innocence or any of her other novels. I haven't read them yet. But I plan on reading The Age of Innocence sometime. Alright. So that's going to be it for this one. As always, you guys have a good life and enjoy reading.